quiet on the set. I think we're live. We're live. Welcome to Beerfield, where you don't know if we are wearing pants or not, because you're either listening on audio or if you're on YouTube, you can only see our faces. I'm Beerfield Hop, he's Beerfield Thury, and it's week 14.
This is flown by. We just talked about this. This year has flown by.
It's like we found
so quickly
format that's conducive to not being burnt out by week 8.
I mean, that is also very nice. It just felt like this. It was like the opposite of 2020, where it felt like it could never end, and now we're in this. Well, it's almost like 22 is pretty much here. Like we're 3 weeks away.
Already got off-season trade rumors springing up and all sorts of stuff.
Love it.
Do love it. All right. As I mentioned on Twitter, I am at Beerfield Hop with 2 P's. He's at Beerfield Thury. The show is at Beerfield. Not a lot going on there, at least for another 52 weeks.
Till Nick comes back.
Right. On Beerfield Podcast on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. You know one of those two things. Otherwise, there's no way you heard this message. It's been a ride so far this year, but you know we're at the end of it. So we got Sunday morning live streams here throughout at least your championship week.
Yep.
So we got that for you. But this should be the last week of your regular season, unless they're doing something Scott Fish style where you have to start in week 14 and they're applying like average season points to your total score or something like that. But
yeah.
Anyway, we'll have those conversations in a minute. A couple things we got to talk about from the Twitter sphere, and then we may go see if we can find a couple more interesting things to discuss. Got some injury news to get into, a couple big ones this week as you make your final playoff push, and then we're going to do an extended game preview. If you've been around for a while, we kind of backed off of those a little bit. This one should be a little bit more, I mean, we didn't prep for it at all, but it should be a little bit more reminiscent of what we did maybe last year before, a little bit more in depth, because we do understand that, a lot of you guys are going to be on the playoff bubble. You're going to be, you've ran through the scenarios in your head of I just need X, Y, and Z to happen with a little bit of luck, and then it's going to come down to points. I have to outscore this guy by this much. Try to give you some game options if you just need to try to ensure a win versus if you need to win big versus, you just need points, and it doesn't matter if you win or lose. Because those are all three very different scenarios as you go into this. So do a little extra there. But as always, before we do that, I feel like my words in the intro normally way outnumber yours, but I feel like this one's very lopsided.
I mean, normally, but you fit all the notes, little changes. But the more they hear your voice, the more they want to come back. So
I don't know that that's true, given the steadily declining listener base.
Well, it is that time of the year.
3 people just stopped watching.
3 people are just like, God damn, fuck this guy.
Most
3
likely,
people
yeah.
just stopped watching.
No, I don't know. I don't know if that's.
I'm
true.
good, bud. I'm good.
It might be true.
I don't know.
I don't know. All right, we're drinking. What are we drinking?
Beer review.
No, I have not done that in a while.
It's been, you were due.
What's fueling Beerfield?
Nick used to struggle with that way more than anybody else on their preview.
One day we're going to have more listeners on our first episode than we'll have on one of our future episodes. It's going to be it's going to be good and sad.
One day we're going to have more listeners on our first episode.
One day we're going to have less listeners on than we're gonna have less listeners than our first show.
Okay, yeah, okay, I get it. I get what you were trying to say now. What
I completely fucked it up. Just like
that's normal.
Right on cue for this. So
that's normal.
Anyways, that is totally normal. I am drinking Half Acres Orin. Orin is a barrel-aged Strong Ale. Release this time every year. I almost always pick it up. At least I have had the last, I think, 4 years now. It's one of my favorite style of Strong Ale. This barley wine style. So, I mean, I'll be honest up front. It's already delicious. It's just something that I bring out at this point. Generally at this point every year.
All right, and a yearly release. I am drinking Bent River's Jingle Java. So, out of Rock Island, Jingle Java is a coffee stout brewed with oatmeal. It has some tasting notes on here. I actually agree with a lot of them. This one feels more flavorful than the last time I had it overall. So, I don't know if tweak something or not, but it's pretty good. It's been a couple years since we had it on, so figured we were due. All right. You want to do Twitter first, or do you want to get into some of this news, some of these injuries and stuff?
Let's do Twitter first, and then we can dive into the the news.
Let's do Twitter first. You said you got a collusion trade to start with. I want to talk a little bit about people complaining about Week 14 buys. And then, look, first thing at the top of my timeline, Dynasty League should not have trade deadlines.
We've already talked about that.
Yep. All right, go ahead with your collusion deal.
So, I wake up this morning and I generally check the socials because I have yet to become a great employee and check my emails first. There was a post that popped up and he asked, top the post, is this collusion? Details of the trade. Or I guess just details overall. So team coming in. So there's a team in fifth place. Takes 4 teams to make the playoffs and said league. This team's in fifth place right now. They traded Madison to the bottom place team to help the bottom place team beat the team this guy is trying to leapfrog. He traded a 3rd round pick for him. He wins.
Dynasty or redraft?
Dynasty. He wins. 2 days later, he traded Madison. The bottom place team traded Madison back to this original team for a 2nd round pick. So basically, the 5th place team borrowed away Madison, or sent away Madison as a rental player to help beat the team that he was facing, and so he can leapfrog him and get him to the playoffs. That was the premise of what this deal is, and he sent it up as a poll. He asked, "Is this collusion or is this good business?" And it got a lot of spark and a lot of conversation to it.
I'm assuming the majority of that said collusion.
A lot of people. So as of right now, 71% said collusion, or I guess 72%, and then 28% said good business.
So those 28% of people are the people who would also collude because they think it's completely okay. And there are leagues for that. There are leagues that support collusion and doing this type of thing. In a normal dynasty league, to me, there is not a more obvious example of collusion there than this. If there's no trade back and you're just sending him off to help beat the guy and living with that, it's a little easier to argue, the other way around on this one. Sure. It's a lopsided deal, but you don't know what Madison's long-term outlook is. He's been really good in relief. I mean, that would still be very lopsided because I think Madison's worth more than a third, especially given Cook's injury history and the out they have on him.
Yep.
But, at the same time, the trade back is what really seals the deal. It is to the fact that this is, without a shadow of a doubt, collusion. There is no good business in Dynasty is trades that help both teams for what they're trying to do. You got a last place team. You should.
This did help both teams. This guy turned his 3rd round pick into a 2nd round pick, and in turn helped. And in turn, this guy, took the risk and made the playoffs. because Madison scored enough points.
It's
to
obvious.
get him to that point.
It's obvious collusion. I mean, that does not help. I moved up around in the draft for a trade in and trade out. That's a rental fee. That's not.
He didn't even move up around. See, that's the funny part. I've been thinking about this all day.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I drive 2 hours to get to my. Generally, drive an hour plus to get to my stop. So
Actually,
I really thought about this
He moved
deal.
up a couple spots, given where they're positioned at.
Well, I mean, like he's bottom place, right? So 301.
Yeah.
I don't know how big this league is, but if you're operating in a 12-team league, at best, this guy moves up 6 spots. At best, you go from 3 to 2.
Yeah, so half a round. That's a rental fee. And the other guy moved back 6 spots. That's a rental fee. That is not an in good faith. This team needs draft capital to help rebuild. It's a lopsided in value trade, even at the front. And you don't trade away and then trade back. It's an undo button.
Yeah. So here's my thought on this, because I've been all over the place and how I actually feel about this, because I don't think this is bad. I mean, it's bad. Like if I saw this as a commissioner, I'd be a little worried. But here's the thing: there's no rules. He said it within this post that there was no rules on this, and in Dynasty is extremely difficult. It is far harder to prove collusion in Dynasty than it is in redraft, and generally the outcomes are like to show collusion's even bigger because one player is not going to flip the script. So this could have went completely backwards. Again, it doesn't matter because it happened anyways. But it's been weighing on me. It's like if I was a commissioner and I saw this, I would wait until people bish. Because what I saw here is 2 people that found a loophole to get through. It's what New England does when trying to get the edge. Yes, it looks horrible, but there's nothing to prevent it. And they found a way to get there, and they did it within the context of what makes sense. Not like
there's no commissioner veto laid out in this league. Not specifically calling out collusion, but there's no commissioner veto laid out in this league. I'm assuming there's no vote veto laid out in this league. But there's
none of that was said. I didn't see that at all.
Because
it's just a lot of people,
first
just
off, if you have a
it.
dynasty league without commissioner veto power, you got to rethink that one.
And I have no clue. It doesn't say if he's the commissioner. It doesn't say what happened. It obviously this trade went through, so obviously the commissioner approved it. And a lot of times, I wouldn't be shocked if this went over people's head because there's a few days gap in between there. You see a trade, trade on trade. We've seen in our leagues alone, we'll see the same player traded to multiple teams in the same week for draft picks. And that what it takes people actually looking at this. So again, not an excuse. I'm just saying it's
a loophole doesn't change what something is, though.
And that's
at the core.
Someone trying to make the playoffs. Done
colluded,
probably poorly, and you can definitely remove them. But
I don't think you remove them. I think that. So
I mean, you could if people are if people in your league are this pissed off. I mean, it could come to that.
I have an idea how I would handle it. I would have just stopped the trade back.
That would have been probably an even better idea.
That's what I would have done.
You just prevented the trade from going backwards. But it's
stopped.
Again, it's not in the rules though.
I would have just stopped the I would have vetoed the second trade if there's commissioner veto power, right? If it is because. We've had I put out tweets against vetoing. I'm not for league vote because a lot of times you have 4 or 5 people in the league that think they should be the protector and the be-all, end-all of what trade value is, and lopsided trades are not collusion. We've done this show for a lot of years. We talked about a lot of scenarios. Very much so that I am not the one to scream collusion at
I know.
At bad deals. There is a duck is a duck, right? It doesn't matter if if there's a loophole there, fine. There was a loophole there, they could get through it, they exploited it. A duck is a duck. It's still collusion. Now, is collusion allowed? I think you're more I don't think you're arguing that it wasn't colluding. I think you're more arguing that they might have colluded, but it was allowed by the league bylaws, so whatever. And okay, I can see that argument, and I can even agree with that argument if there's nothing spelled out for commissioner veto, if the commissioner didn't deem it colluding, whatever. My opinion, if I'm the commissioner, and there's commissioner veto power in that league, it's collusion. The first trade is an obvious collusion. The second one is I'm vetoing the second trade, and you get to live with that first trade. And if you two are pissed off about it, you're just trying to hide from what you're doing. But that would also be spelled out too, right? So here's the other thing, right? If you're the commissioner and your people are pissed, you got to ratify something going forward to spell out commissioner veto on collusion, or panel veto, or three-person panel, so you have a quorum, something like that. Because we've done some 3-person in listener leagues and stuff like that, or to where we'll have a quorum for sure, to make sure that that's spelled out and there's not the loophole for it to happen again. If you do not want colluding in your league, if you want colluding in your league, go for it. So I'm not taking an opposed point to the point I think you're making, because the point I think you're making is it's collusion, but so what? Because they didn't say you couldn't collude.
It's hard. I'm basically saying that it may seem obvious. If it was me, commissioned, I would do my investigation.
Would you trade Alexander Madison to move up 6 spots?
Would I trade Alex? No. If I have Madison and I'm in this position, I mean, we've seen worse trades. I personally wouldn't make it, because 6 spots from an early third to a mid-second, regardless of league format, most times isn't worth. Most times you're trying to trade back and gain.
Here's the other question at that point. Here's the other question too, right? You want to prove it's not collusion. You're arguing that it makes sense for both teams. How does getting a win and moving up 6 spots help that last place team? Again, we don't know what the other standings were, but
exactly.
How does it help that last place team, right? Because if you're in that bottom position, you don't want to win games most of the time. Maybe there's more of a separation there to where he could afford to win a game, and it's whatever. But if you're in that bottom position in a dynasty league and you still have your first and second round picks, which you should if you didn't screw up, what you do not want to do is you don't want to win games and you don't want to score points. You want to do it ethically, but you don't want to win games and you don't want to score points. And
and it depends. This person could view the 101 and the 103 as the same, right? Third picks are the same. So there's a range of outcomes where this deal becomes where it comes to move up comes to get better. But a lot of that is just mute in terms of the fact is that this guy, this trade only made sense to one person.
It did. The person that's trying to get in the playoffs.
And that's the person that's trying to make the playoffs. And in that sense, that's fine. It's the trade back that's been the biggest problem.
Yes.
Is trading the player and the pick back, which obviously there's conversations around. I don't know how you can't, prove that you didn't talk about this unless the person you traded with is that out of it. And then you can have a whole other conversation about that person. It's just, I found it very interesting because there's people in the chat that they put rules in place to prevent a player from being traded back to their previous team within a time frame. And that I think, and it's never happened to me. I don't know if it's ever happened to you, but it's never happened in the
I haven't seen
countless dynasty leagues I have that I've been playing for 5 years. I've never seen that happen. I've seen the same player moved in the same week amongst 3 different teams, but I've never seen that trade back.
Yeah, I haven't seen the trade back happen either. I mean,
and it sounds like it's a lot more common in these comments than what we've seen. So
yeah, I've never seen it either, not in the same season. And I think that if I were going to put a rule like that in place, that's essentially what it would be, is that if you trade somebody away during the season, so it's not a calendar year, it's if you trade somebody away during the season, you could not trade back for them until after the playoffs. I think
Yeah, you
how I
just
would
set whatever
implement
you
that.
want it to be set.
Yeah, that's how I would do that, because you can trade somebody in training camp, right? And then they do something totally unexpected. You're suddenly, you traded somebody away. They have a better season than anticipated. You're in the hunt and didn't expect to be. Go trade back for them. In season, little different, or even shorter.
Oh, redraft. This is easily. This is easy.
Is easy collusion and redraft.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah, it's very easily collusion and redraft.
It'd be hard for me. I don't know. Like I said, I've been very back and forth in how I feel. I mean, I wouldn't be happy about it, but it's almost like okay, you found a way to kind of work around something. It looks very bad. We're gonna have a conversation about it. I probably would have kept it because they found a way. They basically traded within the rules. It just looked very fucking sleazy.
It all depends on how my rules are laid out, and if I don't have it in the rules,
Exactly.
and I don't want that type of thing happening, I'm amending the rules in the off season.
Exactly.
'Cause-
I would almost vote it on right there. It just depends on how people react to it, and that's if enough people even pay attention to it. Because, like I said, I mean, you could see the same player pop up in the same week traded, and you may not even know it's between the same two people. So
Yeah, I've only seen obvious collusion one other time too. And it
I've
was
never.
in a-
I mean, I've seen it come close once, and this was before you and I had even met.
Oh, this one was obvious. It was a home redraft league, Brent's league.
Oh, it's right. I remember you telling us about this. Yeah.
Yeah, where a guy was out of it and was pissed off because a lopsided trade that clearly wasn't collusion went through. And so once he was out of it, there was like a full roster's worth of trades that went down between him and his brother.
Yep.
That was obvious collusion. Wasn't. I think you were even like, I would fucking veto that, and you have a much softer veto finger than I do. Just from years of
I
talking
would
about
have.
stuff like that.
That is clear and obvious. That's why generally when I see collusion, it's generally fucking obvious. Like, but a one player, like, this could have backfired on the guy, and then he would have never gotten it back, and he would have just. I don't know. I just found the whole thing really, really odd. But yeah, that's my my Twitter finding of the week.
All right. The other thing I've seen on Twitter a lot is people complaining about week 14 buys. Mostly, man, I'd be real mad if I had Jonathan Taylor in a bye week in week 14, or I'd be real mad if I have this in a bye week in week 14. Question is, why? That's why you move the playoffs, right? I mean,
Yeah.
You move the playoffs to week 15 so you're not biting the playoffs. The assumption is that everybody else has had their superstar players or regular starters or multiple on bye. You don't get Jonathan Taylor every week of the fantasy season because his bye's late. It's at a critical time, sure, but that one win-loss is still one win-loss, whether it's in week 6 or it's in week 14.
I mean, you've seen this. You know he's been on a week 14 bye since the middle of August, July.
Yeah. You knew
That ain't fucking shocking anybody. If you don't want him, trade him. At that point, fine.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have him for my playoff push. Maybe I'm a French playoff team and I still have trade deadlines. I'm not going to trade him, make sure I get myself in, and then let fate take charge. Unless you're in Dynasty, then I can definitely see why. But then again, that falls on the commissioner, to change it, if so be it, or if you can or can't change it, then you have to fucking deal with it, which happened to me. But I'm trying not to make the playoffs, and now we're playing in week 14 regular season. I'm not going to make the playoffs. I'm actually happy that he changed it.
Huh. Wow. So Vampire League. Guy who went in and dropped. This is a John Bosch tweet. I'm just seeing more collusion. People drop.
Oh no, I saw that. Yeah,
Dynasty
I saw that.
League.
Yeah.
Kick outable offense, right? Fair warning. If he went in and dropped Michael Thomas, I'm not so worried about Ryan Fitzpatrick.
I think
Ced
this is a
Wilson, Trevor
dynasty
Siemian.
league he did it in. Yeah.
It is. I mean,
Yeah.
Simeon, Cedric Wilson, Ryan Fitzpatrick, fine, whatever. Michael Thomas and Christian McCaffrey, though, Both dropped in Dynasty.
I love how he blocked. I think he went and blocked all these people that were associated with John too.
Did he?
Yeah, he went on a blocking spree. That basically, I'm assuming the guy got pissed off because his year sucked because he lost all of his quote unquote good players.
Yep.
And then or something happened. Yeah, that is like the last thing you should ever do. Like if you get pissed, people get pissed off, but to completely try to go out of your way to make the commissioner's life hell and to be an asshole. Yeah, I would. Yeah, I'm glad. And there's lists out there. Scott Fish has lists of people that he has put on his blacklist amongst over his thousands leagues that he commissions too. So
he does. They're there. You don't want to be there.
You never want to be on that list because he will share it. I mean, he said that people have asked him if he could see the list, just in case. And I'm like, yeah, man, I think that's
I'd be curious to see it just to see it, but I wouldn't ask for it unless I had a real reason.
I want to know who's on it. I want to know if I recognize anybody.
Oh, I'm sure we do.
I
am sure we do. Barkley's back on the injury report with an ankle injury.
Yep. 2021 in a nutshell. Every running back's fucking hurt. Besides Jonathan Taylor.
Okay, I think I'm good here. There's some dynasty ranking and stuff coming out. Like, that you're getting near the end of the season when people start tweeting dynasty rankings.
You see, I've seen some like redraft. I've seen some re-rankings or redrafting the 2021 draft and stuff like that, which I'm sure we touch on that in the off season when we go through our 3 years worth of rookie classes that we always do. So you guys will hear our thoughts in the off season.
Yep, you will absolutely hear our thoughts. There's this idiot saying not collusion on an obvious collusion thing. That was you. You're that idiot.
I know. I don't think. I mean, it's like I said. It's hard to prove if it's collusion. It may look obvious, but it doesn't mean that it is. It's just something really, really fishy.
Yeah, beyond really, really fishy. All right, let's talk about some injuries. Couple good riffs there. Not injury, Daniel Carlson, 4-year extension if your dynasty league has kickers. He's been very good.
I know one league that does.
I do too. That's the way it goes. Let's see. Andy Dalton not practicing. Justin Fields renamed the Bears starter. We'll get to that here in a moment. I think your big injuries right now are going to be Adam Thielen, high ankle sprain.
Not playing Thursday.
Logan Thomas, season-ending IR. So it's his second stint on IR, so he's done.
Yep.
Saquon Barkley's back on the injury report with an ankle injury. You got a lot of limited participants, which is normal this time of year. People still not practicing like DeAndre Swift.
You got Mike Williams on the COVID list, and it sounds like he's not vaccinated.
Yeah, Mike Williams is on the COVID list. There's somebody else that went to the COVID list as well that they suspected wasn't going to play.
Keenan Allen, but he is vaccinated.
It wasn't.
So there was a chance he could come back.
It wasn't Keenan Allen though. I thought it was a Jet maybe. No. Speaking of Jets, Corey Davis, IR, season-ending core muscle surgery.
Oh, Elijah Moore.
Yep. Elijah Mitchell's in concussion protocol. Also
guy can't stay healthy.
Also has irritation in his knee. See, T. Higgins currently not practicing. Alvin Kamara expected to return to practice. Debo not practicing. Swift not practicing. A lot of guys not practicing right now. First round buys in fantasy leagues this year, kind of huge.
So Zeke said he feels pretty good about his knee. Said it won't be 100% for another 3 to 4 weeks.
Yep. So
realistic chance. I think there's a bit of a chance that Dallas. I mean, you hope you actually kind of hope that Dallas sits him.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it'll definitely suck, but we could see again uptick in touches and snaps opportunities for Pollard and
Okay.
Zeke kind of getting the rest.
It was Mark Ingram I saw, but
Yes,
he's
right.
vaccinated, so should be all
With
right.
Kamara returning to practice, he's supposed to return today.
Jair Alexander returning to practice.
God, Green Bay needs them really, really, really bad.
Yep.
The secondary is not good.
No, but the pass rush has found some life.
Yeah.
DeAndre Swift is improving. Still not practicing, but improving, apparently. Joe Mixon, non-COVID related illness.
Everyone getting hurt, man.
Everyone's
Jesus.
hurt. Tyrod Taylor's hurt again. Joe Burrow's got a dislocated pinky. Elijah Moore, day-to-day with a quad injury. Tevin Coleman, not practicing with a concussion. J.D. McKissick, returned to practice after being concussed.
Just yikes, man. Just
Montez
yikes.
Sweat, not going to play against the Cowboys. And they're, already without Chase Young. So their defense is neutered. See, Taysom Hill, finger injury. Probably going to start in week 14. Everybody's hurt.
that's pretty much what we Niners are hoping that Debo's back against the Bengals this week, which would be huge. Obviously,
That would be nice.
it's not like you're playing against a hapless Seattle team that you lost to. So Cincinnati, far better opponent. Getting your most important offensive piece back would be pretty big.
Yeah. Kenny Stills was waived.
I think that has gone through everything.
Yeah.
I'm through the Monday news
All right.
or games.
Well, let's go ahead and get into. We're 30 minutes in. Let's go ahead and
Get to the
let's
previews.
do it old school. Let's get to the previews, and then we'll do the beer review about half when we hit the 3:00 games.
Let's do it. That's definitely old school style. All right, let me get everything ready here.
Wait, hold on. We gotta go.
Are you gonna find the drop?
I already had the drop.
Weekly preview.
No, look at you go.
All right, go ahead.
I almost feel like that could be your intro.
Probably.
All right, we got Steelers at the Vikings. Vikings are 3-point favorites at home. Game total is at 43.5. Not been stunning. Both teams are kind of going in opposite directions. Pittsburgh has found some life in a win at home against Baltimore last week, while Minnesota did what Bears fans couldn't do and actually lose to the Lions. And Zimmer still didn't get fired.
Yet they'll fire him.
Yeah. Minnesota's bad as favorites. They're 1-4 this year as a whole, 0-2 as home favorites, while Pittsburgh is 5-2 as underdog favorites and 3-2 as road dog favorites. Pittsburgh's playing better. It sounds like maybe Big Ben has maybe found some life, while Minnesota has kind of reverted back to the issues that we've seen last year. Like, this team was on the bubble of being either really good or they're going to kind of fall back down the earth with the countless double-digit point deficits given back up in every single close game. So I'm still going Pittsburgh on the road. I take the over. I think this game is going to be close throughout. You're going to see a lot of fourth quarter scoring. So Pittsburgh +3 and the over of 43.5.
All right. On to the fantasy side of this. Let's go ahead and just go position by position here, shall we?
Sure.
At quarterback, you're right. Ben Roethlisberger has been playing much, much better. The Vikings defense has absolutely no teeth to it. Ben Roethlisberger is a guy that I'm streaming this week. I forget what. Tua is the reason I have to stream him. So.
Oh, yeah, he's on bye this week.
Yep. So I am totally on board with the Ben Roethlisberger stream this week. The Kirk Cousins side of things is a little less rosy Kirk has been pretty good. All things considered, he's a good fantasy quarterback. He kind of always has been. Pittsburgh, though, top 10 team against wide receivers. So, actually, I think that's right. Hold on. Remember, I told you we didn't actually prep for this. I kind of gotta double
Top
check
10
some
team
of this.
against wide receivers.
They are
Both
11th worst. Sorry,
11th worst and Minnesota's second worst.
but most of it, some of that was without Joe Hayden. A lot of that was to secondary type of receiving options. So Darnell Mooney before Robinson was hurt. Mike Williams went off. T. Higgins went off. So, Joe Hayden, Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson's a superstar, right? So
Yeah, you're not sitting
him. But what you may look for in a guy that I like this week, if you're in one of those positions I talked about where you need to outscore somebody by X amount, you need to go for ceiling. KJ Osbourne.
My man.
And KJ Osbourne, you saw flashes of it early in the season. We know that Minnesota's not high volume passing most of the time. So kind of fell off a bit, but another big game last week after Adam Thielen went down early. And, that's a guy that has some tremendous pop to him. Not unlike Darnell Mooney, similar size too, who went for, I think, 17.6 non-PPR fantasy points. Darnell Mooney had, big touchdown catch against them. So that's kind of what you're hoping for with those pop players. But I like KJ Osbourne. The other thing you got to look at, Tyler Conklin's been a tight end that's on the verge of streaming status. Now, Steelers don't give up a ton to that position, but if you're in a situation where, you've lost Logan Thomas, you've got Mike Gesicki on bye, it is a situation where you can go out and pick up Conklin and try to start him and get some floor out of it because he should see part of that vacated Thielen target volume.
I mean, you're losing Goddard. You lost, both Henry. John really hasn't been much this year. The Colts, Jack Doyle, it's been going off the last couple of weeks. So there's a lot of tight end options. Vikings, 8th in passing plays per game, 37.6 pass attempts per game.
Behind a lot more.
Well, when you play in these tight games and you're constantly giving up leads, it makes sense. No Dalvin Cook. They may have to go a little more on tempo. 91.8 was the snap share. Osbourne. 7 targets, 4 catches, and a touchdown for 47 yards, 59 air yards. I expect Fitzpatrick to shadow towards Jefferson's side more. I think Osbourne is going to get a lot of love here. Kurt is, he will definitely feed Jefferson. But if Pittsburgh does get that touchdown early and they get up early, Osborne's got some week 14 winning upside to him this week.
Yep. And you are totally on board with Madison again this week.
Oh, yeah.
Steelers have given up over 25 points to the running back position twice over the last 4 weeks. The others that they didn't were 13 and 15 points to Freeman and DeAndre Swift. Last time they held it back under 10 points was week 9. David Montgomery was Chicago. So absolutely on board with Madison this week.
That was an ugly game script, too, if I remember correctly.
It was a pretty ugly game script, if I remember correctly, as well. Defensively, if you need a streaming defense, I don't expect either one to be a great option. It's pretty defense neutral on both sides. So tread light, not necessarily tread lightly there. It's neutral. Actually, never start the Vikings defense. But
I mean, in a game like this, you're just hoping for turnovers. Both quarterbacks. Kurt's been extremely good about not turning the ball over. He will take some sacks, especially TJ Watt is going to get his zone. I think Pittsburgh's in for a floor week for defense. Mm-hmm. Minnesota, you're just hoping for, their pass rush can find some legs. They're playing against a bad O-line. There's probably better options, but I think both are fine.
Yep. Oh, Steelers wide receiver side of it, by the way, Deontay Johnson's absolutely been on a tear. Pat Freiermuth, target volume has been down the last couple of weeks. He's still a red zone weapon.
And Claypool I think he logged a full practice today. Practice today. He should be good to go. Though just 3 targets against Baltimore.
Yeah, 3 against Baltimore. Not high efficiency. Him and Ben have been really struggling to link up. Been working a lot better with Johnson.
But this is a get.
But
This is a get right game for him then.
It could be because it's a weak Vikings secondary. Before that 3-target game against Baltimore and a tightly contested interdivision game, 8 and 9 targets 2 weeks before. Not hyper efficient, but they're targeting him in deep, and that's the thing about a lot like KJ Osbourne, right? Darnell Mooney. All you got to do is catch 1, and you're to a decent day, and you catch 2, you're at a really good day. So,
yep, and they still will manufacture touches for for Claypool, especially without Juju, and James Washington hasn't done much, so they're gonna need their outside options. They're gonna need their receiving work if Minnesota gets on a roll early too. So this could be a sneaky shootout. It's not the worst game to target.
And they are in a dome. Boswell's been relatively good this year also.
He's been very good this year too, especially kicking in Pittsburgh.
Yep,
we all know
which is tough. But he's had a lot of years of doing it. One other thing on this game, remember it is a Thursday nighter. Make sure those players are not in your flex spots.
It's more important, even more so this year, given all the limited practices and all the injuries.
Yeah, you want to maintain that roster flexibility, given everybody that's limited and banged up at this point in the season.
All right, Raiders at the Chiefs. Chiefs 8.5-point favorites here at home. 47.5 is the game total. Chiefs 3-0 in the last 3 weeks in covering against the tread spread. While the Raiders are kind of reverting back to what they were for most part of the season, and that they're 1-5 over their last 5, or they're 1-4 over their last 5 games. The Raiders do better as underdogs, as they're 3-1 this year. Look, the Chiefs, I just don't think we're going to see the consistent offensive output that we normally see. And I think we're starting to find they're starting to get into that comfort zone of Mahomes not needing to do Mahomes type things to win these games. And the defense has been playing remarkable.
Yes.
The Raiders have kind of gone backwards. While they put up 36 against the Cowboys on Thanksgiving night, 15 against Washington, 13 against Cincinnati, 14 against the same Chiefs defense back in the middle of November, 16 against the Giants. So it's been almost a month outside of that Thanksgiving game since they actually put up some offensive output. 8.5 is a lot of points, but I do like the Chiefs at home. I think I'm back to betting with them again. They just covered it at 8.5 point spread against the Broncos this past week, and I like the under at 47.5. The Raiders at times will rise above it, but I don't think it'll take enough the Chiefs scoring for them to keep them in line. With the Chiefs in the spread and the under.
All right, fantasy side. We'll go Raiders side first rather than bounce around here.
Sure.
Start with Derek Carr up at the quarterback position. That is not somebody that I want to plug in stream this week. Leave him on your bench. Chiefs defense the last couple weeks. Actually, interceptions in 5 straight, multiple interceptions the last 2 straight. Not a ton given up in passing yards. No 300-yard passers since week 5. So they've found it. They've been getting pressure. So they've definitely found a way to step up this defensive game. So I'm not going to run with Derek Carr. I believe Derek Carr has also had more down weeks than good weeks since the hot early season start. Kind of a lot like what we saw last year, where he got out of the gate pretty quick and then really kind of slowed down a bit.
Yeah, I agree.
Josh Jacobs with no Kenyon Drake. Kenyon Drake's out with the broken ankle. He's been getting involved in the passing game, seeing his snap count go up. He's healthy, and he has absolutely been productive. You're okay with that one, especially given you've got Jonathan Taylor on bye. You've got Myles Gaskin, who you've been able to plug in a little bit. He's on bye. Damian Harris, who's been generally a starter for a lot of people, is on bye. So Josh Jacobs is somebody you can absolutely plug in there. Derek Carr, by the way, just 1 multi-touchdown game in the last 5 weeks. So for a quarterback like Carr, that is not good. That's what I was trying to pull up. He did have 1 game up over 300 yards at 373, which kind of helped that week a lot. But don't expect that that level of yardage to be there. Wide receiver and tight end game. A lot of people expected Foster Moreau to step in and kind of get a lot of those Darren Waller targets. Foster Moreau has always been more of an end zone type guy. Not a ton of targets there for Foster Moreau last week, if I believe. Definitely not a lot of productivity.
No, it was a grind 'em out game against Washington, and I think Monroe he goose egged or had just one catch. It was a rough day for all.
He had one reception for
all Raiders.
34 yards, just 3 targets. All Raiders except for one guy.
Josh Jacobs, though, 9 targets against Washington.
Not who I was referencing.
I know. I'm just going back to him. Only one game over 100 total yards, but touchdowns have been there in the last 2 games.
Yep. The guy that I'm referencing is the guy who's benefited most from Darren Waller's absence. The target volume's gone up.
Renfro.
Multiple games over 100 yards. That is Hunter Renfro. He's getting red zone targets. He's getting target volume now. He's being used in all facets of the game. You cannot put Hunter Renfro on your bench at this point in time.
He's their only trusted receiving option, right?
Yep.
Derek Carr is not a throw it. Is on a throw you open receiver. He's a throw it to you when you're open receiver. Yep. And the only guy that can get open with consistency in that receiving room is Hunter fucking Renfro.
He's a great route runner. That's why.
Elite target separator.
Yep. Very elite. So there you go. Hunter Renfro's your guy there. Raiders defense, stay away from it. We already mentioned it. Carlson's been good. Chiefs defense has been a lot better, but you play your kickers, right? On the flip side of this, the Chiefs are still chalk. They're never not chalk. One thing to point out though, Edwards-Helaire and Darrell Williams split snaps almost evenly last week.
You think this is the last time that Andy Reid takes running back advice from Patrick Mahomes?
Probably.
Woof. You could have had DeAndre Swift.
Yep.
You could have had Swift. You could have waited for James Robinson. Instead, you took Clyde. And I still like Clyde.
It's not gone well.
Yeah, it's not. It has not gone well.
It is the Raiders. It is the Raiders, so you're okay with that. And I'm not advocating a Darrell Williams spot start unless you have to. But because he's getting 50% of the snap share, there are worse things you could do this week. But just got to put that out there.
He hasn't been over 60 since week 3. I'm not saying you're benching Clyde. He had 82 total yards and 76 in week 11.
Productive.
He's productive. Just 3 targets is the highest he's had all year.
Yeah. They don't use him in that way. So
nope. Sadly.
The other tidbit here is that the Chiefs defense is they've been good the last couple weeks. They're very streamable this week, is rough as the Raiders have been. Not just from a points allowed standpoint. The pass rush has absolutely been there. They stopped playing some people out of position. We gave you the interception metric. They've got, I think, 7 over the last 5 weeks. So turnover ability is definitely there.
Yeah. All right. Saints at the Jets. Saints, 5.5-point favorites on the road. 43 even is the game total. Look, both teams are struggling. Saints haven't really been the same since Jameis got hurt. The Trevor Siemian experiment didn't work. Taysom Hill's banged up, though he did find his legs, which I think is the only way you're going to be able to win with Taysom Hill.
They were right there, attached to his hips.
Yeah, right, attached to his hip. It's almost like if you run with the quarterback built like a tight end, you're probably going to find some success in these spot starts. Look, Saints haven't covered a game since November 14th. It's been ugly for them. The Jets have only covered 1 game in the last month and a half. I'll take the Saints. I feel a lot more confident in the coaching staff and maybe them finding themselves out against Dallas this past week. If you don't want to bet the spread, I would take the under. Saints still have a very strong defense, and while Zach Wilson looked better this past week, at times, at least early portion of the game, it was until Philly got up ahead. It might be another bad day for them. So I'm just going to take the under. I'm going to stay away from the spread.
All right. This is going to be pretty easy to run through.
Yep, we do like that.
We do. Saints are ugly from a fantasy perspective. The one thing that you have a little solace in is that the majority of the target volume has been going to Deonta Harris. 96 yards and a tutter on 8 targets this past week. It's been upwards of 5 the last couple weeks. So, I mean, they'll target him downfield. If you need a blow up, fine. We're only talking about Deonta Harris because I don't have another wide receiver to talk about. Taysom Hill's got the legs. He also threw 4 picks. This is a game that I don't expect him to have to throw a ton, thankfully. But I'd expect the Saints to go a little more confidence building. Taysom's banged up. Protect him a little bit, especially if Kamara's back in the running game, by utilizing the running game. Kamara should be back this week. It's against the Jets defense that's very porous. Ingram's in concussion protocol. He's not worth more than an RB3, RB4 type play. You just haven't seen any pop out of him this year. It's been better since he got out of Houston, but, it's not been fantastic necessarily. He's been just okay in the couple weeks that Kamara missed. So,
The last 5 weeks, the Jets are bottom 5 against all positions in fantasy.
Yep. And
that's how bad it's been for them. And Houston's in that game in which they won. So it's not been good for them lately.
Right. So if you're going to target somebody in the passing game, it's Deonta Harris.
I agree.
A lot of people like Adam Trautman for some reason.
I believe he's on IR anyway.
He's
so I think
on IR, plus I don't get it. But regardless. And the Saints defense, it is against the Jets. Zach Wilson been known to throw a pick or 2 or 4. So, defense, you're completely on board with the Saints. It's going to be a defense and run the football game for them. As far as the Jets go, we saw a little bit more competence out of Zach Wilson and his ability to link up with Elijah Moore. We're not talking about Zach Wilson as a starter, not against the Saints, who've had a better than normal defense. Elijah Moore is dealing with a quad injury, so you want to keep an eye on that. He's the only person in the passing game that you want to start, though. He does have some pop and some upside. He's getting volume. I guess you could say Jamison Crowder's gotten some volume too, but has done nothing with it. So Elijah Moore is really the guy that you want out of the Jets. Running back wise, Tevin Coleman's been the guy with Michael Carter on IR. I think Michael Carter has got another week before he can think about coming back. So
at that point, they should just.
And at that point,
there's something that they're playing for this, so no reason to even rush them back.
Yep. And it's not been great for Tevin Coleman. 70, 80 total yards. It's a floor play. Again, there's not a lot of upside play out there that you're going to grab off waivers or pick up in a pinch at the running back position. So guys like, Tevin Coleman, Rex Burkhead, who we'll get to a little bit later, those are some of the guys that you kind of have to deal with that just have some of that floor volume. Darrell Williams that has snap share. You just kind of got to take a flyer on some of those guys and hope maybe it happens, or Amir Abdullah even for the Panthers.
Yeah.
Yep. Ugly game. Avoid it if you can.
Yeah. This is not a game to target.
Other than Kamara.
Hopefully he's back.
Yeah.
Elijah Moore, hopefully he's healthy. Jaguars at the Titans. Titans 8.5-point favorites at home. 43.5 is the game total. Look, this game's also going to be ugly. Julio, I think, is due to come off IR, if I'm not mistaken. Which is a huge help for Tennessee because we know what that offense looks like without him. I believe Jordan McNichols is also back and practicing. He could be back this week. Which kind of helps this Tennessee offense start to move forward. This game is going to be ugly. Look, Lawrence has been pretty bad.
Very bad.
Yeah, it's not, you can say it's not all on him, but I think a lot of it, you still have to put a lot of it on that. I know Urban Meyer has been god-awful and he has no help, especially when Urban Meyer is actively going away from his best offensive playmaker, and Josh Robinson is absolutely just mind-blowing just how bad of a coach he is. Either way, it's a big spread. Tennessee's defense still isn't that great. Jacksonville's offense can't score points
at all.
7, 14, 10, 17, 9, 7. That's the last 6 games they've played. No more than 17 points. Well, Tennessee's defense also isn't very good. This offense struggled to score points against Atlanta, against Seattle. It may not matter. I'm taking the under and I'm avoiding the spread.
All right. Jaguars. This is the point that we're at. Other than James Robinson, who's, a running back and a thin running back week, you got to start him.
Doghouse?
Doghouse. Urban Meyer.
Apparently he got benched because he fumbled last week.
Don't know. Either way, you're not sitting him and you're not starting Carlos Hyde.
I can't.
Not at this stage.
Urban Meyer would make Carlos Hyde a thing this year. He would. He found a way to make him a thing.
Speaking of finding a way to make somebody a thing, we have to talk about Laquan Treadwell.
Laquan Treadwell, 8 targets, right? Past 2 games each.
No, 8 and 5. 13 targets over the last 2 weeks. 115 yards over that time spread. 8 receptions. He's been their leading receiver. So,
he's 92%, snap share, and he's ran over 20.
Yeah,
he's been averaging over 30 routes run in that 2 game span.
Still just 26. You know what?
He's not for dynasty, but for this year, right? Maybe no.
Yeah, wide receiver isn't as banged up. You're not really missing as many people this week. Maybe Jalen Waddle, maybe Michael Pittman. Not really in such danger of needing a spot start from somebody, and I'm not advocating that you necessarily go out and start Laquan Treadwell, but if you need floor and you're concerned about something else, then
the matchup's okay.
This is a lot like, it's kind of the anti-Elijah Moore, it's kind of like Deonta Harris, honestly. You don't feel great about it, but I want to talk at least about one pass catcher from each team.
You're not happy, but you have to.
Yeah. You're not happy about it, but you have to. And that's really the only person on the Jaguars I want to talk about is Laquan Treadwell. Again, floor, spot start, bad defense. Don't expect to blow up. But you know what? Better than some other options you could potentially have.
I can't. How bad is it for Laviska Shenault to be not only supplanted by Jamal Agnew, but then to be, which is an ex-defensive player, but then also to be supplanted by Laquan Treadwell.
Yeah.
Jesus fucking Christ, man.
It's really bad. On the Titans side of the things, you mentioned Jeremy McNichols coming off. Good that he's getting healthy. Bad because I don't think they're going to need him that much in this one.
Deonta Forman.
Deonta Forman's going to be the guy that's getting the majority of the run here. 19 carries against New England, went over 100 yards. Love Deonta Forman is a plug and play start this week. They've found a guy that has some explosiveness after the Derrick Henry injury. So good on them. Glad Foreman is seeing some run there. Julio Jones coming off of IR. Again, this is not a game where I necessarily want to target pass catchers. I think it's going to be a lopsided game script. Tennessee is going to be able to execute how they want to execute. Jacksonville can't score points. We know that it's Julio Jones in Tennessee if you need to have a pass catcher. But, again, it's a game I do not want to target for the receiving game, and I don't want to target it for either quarterback either.
I can't disagree with there. All right. Ravens at the Browns. Browns, 2.5-point favorites at home. 42 even is the game total. Both offenses are struggling. Baltimore just continues to lose important pieces on both sides of the field, as it looks like Marlon Humphreys is going to be out for the year. This game, it's rough. Both offenses can't score points. Baltimore 19, 16, 16, and 10 the last 4 games. Browns 10, 13, 7, and 7. No, this is an easy under. I think 42 is even a gift. Baltimore's games have gone under the last 4 games in a row, including the first matchup against the Browns just a few weeks ago, or just a couple weeks ago. I like Baltimore to still win this game. I'll take Baltimore money line. And the under.
Yeah, the other side of this, we'll look first off at the Browns. Baker Mayfield's a no-go, not enough passing volume, not enough upside. You're okay with Nick Chubb. Kareem Hunt, I believe, is back too.
Expected. They're hopeful. Stefanski's hopeful he's ready to return.
So you're okay with both of those guys. Baltimore, I believe, is still relatively good against the run. I'm going to go double-check on that just to be sure.
I mean,
they have Patrick Queen, so...
It's been ugly, and that their whole secondary is pretty much depleted.
Well, secondary is depleted, but they're still over the last 5 weeks
second best against running backs.
So Hunt's going to be back. Chubb's going to be there. Hunt relies a lot on efficiency. I'd probably steer away from that. Just roll with Chubb, especially with Hunt coming off of injury. Jarvis Landry on the other side of this. Look, if you're going to attack Baltimore right now, the secondary is the way to do that. Jarvis Landry is the most potent receiving option on the Browns. Odell's gone, and he went over 100 yards in the first game without him there. Oh, yeah, wait, that was also against Baltimore, but with a couple more healthy cornerbacks.
Just keep in mind he did not practice today, so just keep an eye out for.
I think that's probably more of a.
We're hopeful it's just a veteran.
With them coming off, yeah, with them coming off the bye, I think it's probably a veteran day off.
He just had a whole week. I'm kidding.
You get into him at the end of this year, 29 years old, not a spring chicken anymore. Baltimore side of this, Lamar Jackson's been off. I don't know how else to say it. If you box score watch, it doesn't look that bad. If you've watched the games, it's pretty bad. He's missed touchdowns by just a hair. The accuracy, it kind of continues to be a little bit of an issue for Lamar. Maybe not overall, but when it matters, that you had 2-point conversion just out of the reach of a tight end. He missed a couple touchdowns. That was on Andrews.
That was not on Jackson.
Okay. You missed a couple touchdowns, threw some balls outside when they didn't need to be outside. He's really been his own worst enemy the last couple weeks. Just one touchdown passing in each of those. The problem is that, you typically are still very, very high on the rushing upside, right?
Hasn't scored a rushing touchdown since week 2.
Has not had a rushing touchdown since week 2. 55 yards last week, 39 yards the week before. Last 3 weeks, under 100 yards rushing on the ground. So that's typically where you rush at. Under 75, even for him. So you're still going to get a floor day out of Lamar. It's not a great Browns defense, especially when it comes to the run. You're not sitting Lamar, but he's not going to carry your team the way that he used to.
Not right now, not until he can fix whatever. I mean, something needs to be fixed, right? I mean, like you just mentioned, it's him, it's the playmakers. Maybe it's him. They're running with him less and they're throwing with him more. I mean, Baltimore is dead even in the middle in pass attempts per game right now, and they're actively trying to make Lamar into more of that long-term answer. We're seeing the growing pains with that.
Yep, and you absolutely are, and this is kind of what everyone wondered, right? And when he gets Bateman, this will happen. Bateman goose egg last week, so there's more growing pains here than I think some people that I share the show with even anticipated.
I mean, easily, yes. It's still very impressive what he was able to accomplish early on. And you can clearly tell that there's some veteran leadership on this. Him and Watkins have been pretty much going in opposite directions. Watkins got hurt when Bateman came back.
Yep.
And now we're seeing Jackson and the team have to lean on their veterans. So he's on that Chris Godwin trajectory at this point. It feels like where he's going to have to wait his turn,
and that's okay. And
that's absolutely fine
with Watkins. He's not giving you blow up games just like Bateman wasn't. I wouldn't recommend really either of them in this one. The guy that I want to highlight for the Ravens is Marquise Brown. Doesn't really need a lot of highlighting, but man, has the target volume been there for Brown. He's been He's only had 2 games since week 5 where he's been under double-digit targets, and those were at 7 targets and 5 targets. So he's getting volume. He's getting the ability to create. He's a guy that's got big play ability against a defense that'll give up big plays. The other guy I want to talk about on the Ravens is a guy that I keep looking at in my lineup and feeling not very good about it, but the Browns are not good on the run. I keep finding ways to sit him, and I can't. The Browns are not good on the run. He's getting the majority of the run for Baltimore, gets most of the receiving work for Baltimore, and that guy is Deonta Forman. He's been a very, very serviceable running back the last couple weeks, especially given his involvement in the receiving game. 8 targets last week, 45 yards, picked up a tutter in the rushing game, over 50 yards on the ground, was good for 97 scrimmage yards plus the touchdown. You're okay with that in your RB2 if you have to have it.
Oh, easily. One note on Watkins. Looks like his snap share is going back up in games. That Watkins has been 50-plus snap share. Minimum of 6 targets, right? Touchdowns may not be there, but 4 catches in all those games.
Yardage hasn't been there either, though. I think
yardage has not been great. This just like bad timeout last time they played against Cleveland. It's just looking at narratives. If you need a floor option, I think I wouldn't be shocked if they lean more on these veterans down this stretch until they secure a true playoff spot. The AFC's all over the fucking place. New England in 1 year is back on top. That's how fucked up the AFC is right now.
It's true.
Took New England 1 year to make their comeback to the top.
Yep.
Surprise, just whatever.
Well,
anyways, the Falcons at the Panthers. Panthers 2.5-point favorites at home. 42.5 is the game total. This game's going to be ugly, right? Nothing too exciting to get, the ride home about. Atlanta's offense is sputtering a little bit. Carolina's been all over the place. You expect this game to be a little more to it. Last time out, 13-19 with these two teams at home or at Atlanta. Excuse me. Over under wise, Atlanta's gone under in 4 straight games. Panthers have gone over 3 straight games. Both game totals have been relatively small. I'll take the over, and I'm staying away from the spread.
All right, flipping the script here. Panthers defense has been relatively about middle of the road. Cordero Patterson's been the Falcons' best weapon here. But guy that's been coming on a lot is Russell Gage. Over 7 targets each of the last 3 weeks. Touchdown. Went over 100 yards against Tampa Bay, who has a good pass rush in what was largely seen as what largely was a negative game script. I expect Gage to be another one of those floor type of players, a guy that I like a little bit more than Watkins. They're both probably rostered in deeper roster leagues, but they're probably available in some of your shallower like home leagues and stuff. Those are guys that I think you can pick up and plug in because of the dearth of depth that you have at wide receiver. Flip side of this, on the Panthers side of the football, because again, this is not one that we can really go super deep into. Amir Abdullah is a guy that I've seen called out on Twitter. Shout out to Roto Underworld, calling out the potential use for him in the receiving game. He did see 6 targets last week after Christian McCaffrey went down. You got to try to replace that snap share. DJ Moore, obviously the wide receiver that I really want to run with. Robbie Anderson hasn't been relevant, although this is the time of the year that Robbie Anderson typically becomes relevant. But
that's true. Definitely true.
And he rocks the Cynthia from Rugrats haircut, so I'm on board with that. Look at his Pro Football Reference picture.
Who's this?
Robbie Anderson.
Oh, that's right. It's all over the place.
Yeah, it looks like Cynthia from Rugrats. The doll.
Yep.
There
it is.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, easily.
It
almost looks photoshopped.
It kind of does, doesn't it?
Yeah, like almost like it's like he's standing behind a wall of graffiti.
It kind of does. Cam Newton's been very sporadic since he came back. So, the good news is it's been okay for DJ Moore, but Cam Newton himself has not been fantastic. So, I'm not looking at either quarterback as an option that I necessarily want to stream. I'm not looking at any defenses. Either defense is a great option, although neither one of them should go negative. You're probably looking at about run of the mill for defenses there. I don't like a lot in this game. It's a lot of floor.
It speaks to the 42.5 game total.
Mm-hmm.
Fun fact: Russell Gage goose egg last time out against the Panthers.
How long ago was that, though?
Week 8.
Okay, fair enough.
Cowboys at the football team. Cowboys are 4-point favorites on the road. 48 even is the game total. Washington has covered 4 straight games in a row as Dallas hasn't covered. Dallas is 2-3 over their last 5. This feels more like a Washington game. They've playing that quote unquote inspired football without needing to score a lot of points. Just 34 total their past 2 games. Dallas has been ugly, to say the least. Been back and forth pretty much since their launch streak came to an end against the Broncos. They should be healthier more often than not. Zeke, one more week healthier. I like Dallas to cover though in this game, and I like the under. Washington has gone under in 5 straight games. Dallas has got under in their last 2. And both teams have gone over once over their previous 7 games. I like the under here, and I like Dallas in a tight, close game.
Fair enough. All right, we'll start out with the football team because they're relatively easy to figure out. At least I like to think. Problem is Dallas is a really good top cornerback. So we're talking, that's a Terry McLaurin statement is what that is. Terry McLaurin also, by the way, has been just okay here recently. He hasn't given you kind of some of the bigger games that you were more acclimated to, especially earlier in the year. Just one game where he's gone over 100 yards, which was kind of a calling card for him. Really one game over 60 yards in the last 5 weeks. Just one touchdown as well. Going to draw a very, very tough matchup this week. Doesn't mean you can't have your way with Dallas a little bit, but that may not come through Terry McLaurin. So, actually, I want to go see who.
John Bates, tight end. Now that Thomas and Seals Jones may not be back,
it's going to depend on if Seals Jones is back. You're starting whatever tight end from the football team is healthy on their depth chart, right? Doesn't mean you're starting them both if they're healthy. It means if Seals Jones is healthy, start Seals Jones, because I'm assuming Bates hasn't surpassed him. They've been doing about the same damn thing. Bates is healthy, and Seals Jones isn't. You start Bates. So, Seals Jones if he's healthy, otherwise it's Bates. You're definitely starting the tight end. You can definitely get work that way. What I was looking to see, though, is who their second leading wide receiver is. I think we've seen a good amount of Humphreys, but
I think it's Humphreys or is it Sam or is it Stevenson? It's one of the
DeAndre
Sims.
Carter, maybe?
DeAndre Carter, I think, has found some leg too. I think it's still been pretty much a void.
It's pretty much an
Number
avoid
2.
situation. I like it because number 2s have some success, opposite Diggs. Deontay Harris, Hunter Renfrow, Tyreek Hill's a primary.
Well, even Diggs is himself. I mean, Diggs is just an opportunistic guy. He gives up a lot of yards.
He does give up a lot of yards. Tim Patrick, Adam Thielen. But you're right. Diggs is a ball hawk, and that was the other point I was going to make, is that Diggs is a ball hawk. He's not locked down necessarily.
No, not yet. He may get there, but he's totally not a shutdown corner. Teams will. I mean, maybe he would be if he wasn't super aggressive. And when you have a great pass rush and a great offense, you can ask your top corner to be aggressive.
Be a little aggressive, right? So Washington is, again, they're a lot like Kansas City, where they're pretty chalk. It's like KC light when they're chalk, and they're chalk. You're not going to go get cute with secondary pass catchers, even though Dallas can give up a bit to that. You're more so going to be whatever starting tight end they run out there, and then Terry McLaurin and Antonio Gibson. McKissick may be healthy again. Could very well be a McKissick game. You're going to have to watch his status throughout the week. Because he does get target volume when they're down. Now, Other side of this with Dallas, Washington's defense, we've mentioned it plenty of times before. They, they're a little neutered, especially in the, pass rush department. That means that there should be plenty of time to throw, work the ball to Cooper and CeeDee Lamb. Gallup has had some target volume. We had some concerns about Gallup and Dalton Schultz and how they would play off each other. And the answer has been that it did cut into Schultz' target volume a little bit when Gallup got back, but not a whole shitload, essentially.
And Cooper has been banged up. He's been able to play through his injury. He got COVID, I believe is what it was. He tracked to COVID. He was out. He still isn't quite 100%. As it's not to be shocked or anything like that. So, and Gallup's been playing well beyond, I think, even expectations since returning from his injury.
Gallup, I think, has really had he's had one big game since he got back, and then he caught a touchdown last week, which saved it. The target volume's been there. The efficiency hasn't been.
He is primarily their deep threat, too. So,
yep.
Dak is, it's still Dak. But. All right. Final noon game until the review. Excuse me. Seahawks at the Texans. Seahawks are 7.5-point favorites on the road. Game total at 41.5. Seattle got on the right track this past week against San Francisco, finally letting Russ, quote unquote, cook. Houston's fucking terrible. One thing to note here is you look at the over-unders for, previously for these teams. Seattle has gone over once in their last 10 games. Houston's gone over twice in their last 10 games. Money would suggest to bet that under, though at the 41.5 is the lowest that Seattle has seen in its last 10 games. But Seattle hasn't played in a game outside of this past game against San Francisco, 6 straight games of under 40 points. So I do like the under, and it's more likely due to the fact that Houston just isn't going to score enough points, or they won't quite get there. No Tyrod Taylor, he's on IR. Davis Mills is back up to bat here. I like the under here and avoiding the game spread. I just do not trust Seattle to close out a game yet.
This is another one that's going to be ugly. This is not a pretty slate.
No, not at all.
Not at all a pretty slate of games. Look, you want this to be get right for Seattle. You would like to see them do kind of what the Rams did last week in a plus matchup and keep their foot on the accelerator and get their guys going and feeling a little good about themselves and use DK and use Lockett and get those guys right, get Russ right, kind of set the offense in the right direction.
Yeah.
The problem is I feel like they're more Tennessee than they are LA, where that's going to mean a lot of Alex Collins and potentially even Adrian Peterson. Don't go start Peterson. Hell, don't go start Collins if you can help it.
Actually, Peterson got put on. He got put back on the practice squad.
Did he?
Yep. He can only be elevated one more time until he's locked into the roster.
Nice.
So
didn't see.
We'll
that.
see.
So Alex Collins then.
Yeah.
But again, I don't love it. Alex Collins is a floor guy. It's kind of what Deonta Forman for me this week, right? But we put DK in timeout last week, right?
We did.
I don't think you did anything to come out of timeout.
Well, Seattle's offense actually scored some points, which is
8
good
for
thing
5
to
for
see.
60 yards, a little stabilized. Lockett caught the touchdown.
It's I was more looking at Seattle's offense getting back on track.
I would like
They
them
may not
to.
need their passing offense to get back to. I mean, this could be the game, like you just said with the Rams. This could be that game where Seattle can use this as that punching bag to gain back the confidence. And they said it themselves. It came out after that game. They want to get DK more involved. The same shit we hear all the time, but squeak wheel may get, the oil here. So
Do you trust? Are you just playing devil's advocate though, or do you really trust Seattle if they're up to try to get the passing game? Right.
I'm trying to gain myself confidence to play DK in what should be a plus matchup. But it's still fucking Seattle and still Pete Carroll. And we all know Pete Carroll blew his fucking load watching Bill Belichick throw 3 fucking passes and so won the game.
I think that this is almost a trap because of the decent matchup, but how Seattle typically wants to play football.
They've been so bad this year.
Almost a trap.
They've been so bad too. It's one game should not erase the last 7 games that they've looked abysmal. And besides that Jacksonville game, even that was ugly.
If you're gonna play DK, you treat him like boom bust, and you hedge your bets. Is what you do.
You treat it like a little bit better situation, Allen Robinson.
No, you don't touch fucking Allen Robinson. You treat it like a
little bit better situation.
No,
So you barely touch DK.
I'm thinking this is more like a Chase Claypool situation, not
Allen
Robinson. Where
I can see Claypool.
He's going to get targets, and you just want him to pull in a couple of big ones and call it good. And maybe he doesn't get targets a couple weeks randomly. This is more of a Allen Robinson has shown you nothing. Absolutely,
Allen Robinson's totally ready to move the fuck on, and he's totally checked out.
Like DK Metcalf had a bad 3-week stretch. Allen Robinson has showed you nothing.
You can still play. I'm not saying you're going to play DK with confidence, but I think if you're going to...
No, you play him, but you hedge your bets.
Yeah.
You play
him, but you just have to maybe live with the fact he may give you only, a few points. So.
Yeah, you play him, but you couple it with a floor guy that, a high floor guy that you don't need to blow up just in case he does dead you. That's what you do.
Yeah.
That or you throw a lineup of bombs out there and hope 3 of them go off.
I mean, yeah, you just get 2. It could be that, right? This could be Seattle brought in Adrian Peterson because it's a win now move at a team that was 3-7, 3-8. So clearly that team's of right mind.
Sure. Tyler Lockett's been the more consistent receiver, by the way. If I'm starting a receiver, it's going to be him, not.
Yeah, no, I agree.
You probably don't have both of them, but just saying.
Probably not.
I'm a lot more confident in Lockett than I am DK. And
I am every week.
Seahawks defense. You look up the definition of streamable, and the Seahawks defense is just there. They've been playing better while the offense has been down, and they get not great, as I would call it.
They get Davis Mills.
Although
and Rex Burkhead and Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, Rex Burkhead's been getting some run. At least
a lot of work, not a lot of production,
efficiency.
But he's getting a lot of opportunity.
Some receiving work. If you're into 3 receptions and 60 total yards and 7 to 9 fantasy points, Rex Burkhead's your guy. That's what gets you off. Rex Burkhead's your guy.
That's right.
Brandon Cooks was a little bit better with Davis Mills than he has been with Tyrod Taylor. Had a big week 1 with Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod goes down. Little more sporadic there. I, again, don't love it. Not a lot of receiver matchups I love. A lot of ugly matchups this week.
And that yawn means we're at the beer review as we wrap up noon previews.
I've been yawning all day. I don't know what my problem is, but I have been yawning all day. What do you think, Dan?
I am again drinking Half Acres Orion. This is their bourbon barreled aged Shiraz ale. So expectations are going to be light or about a medium body with that barrel. You're going to pull off the barrel notes. I don't know what they use to age this in, so I can't partake on that, but you'll get your traditional bourbon notes inside of this. Shiraz ales don't partake a whole lot of overpowering flavors, so you're going to get more of the barrel in there. There's no added adjuncts to this like chocolate, vanilla, or coffee. It's just straight up what they use to make the beer, and then the notes that they took away from the barrel when they aged it in this bourbon barrel. So again, Shiraz vanilla. You get a little bit of chocolate to it here with a bit of a cherry finish to it. About the medium-esque body. If you like the style of beer, Orion's one of my favorite It's one of my favorite barley wine style beers. So, if you have a chance to get this, Half Acre does generally do at least regional distribution. I would highly recommend picking this up if you find it.
All right, I'm almost out of this. If that tells you how good it was, it's very coffee forward, but you definitely get a lot of the vanilla and really pronounced caramel notes in the back end of this, especially for it not having adjuncts. They call out rum raisin in here as well, and that just makes me think that they use some really fucking heavy crystal malt.
Yeah, no shit to get caramel out of there.
To get like legit caramel and raisiny notes, that's crystal malt to a T. But also some pecan notes. It's very good. It's surprisingly easy drinkable. I could drink probably 4 or 5 of these without feeling too terrible about it. One of my favorite Christmas beers. Flying colors to, unlike any of those noon games which had me yawning by the end of it, flying colors to Bent River, as most of their adjunct beers get.
If Bent River does a season right, it's the pumpkin and Christmas season.
It's true. I've got
because their potato.
I've got
their sweet potato ale is amazing.
Got one upstairs.
So solid choices. All right, you ready to drive this fucker home?
I'm gonna get a beer. You go ahead and kick off whatever the next game is, and then we're
gonna start the 3:00 games here. Detroit at Denver. Denver is 9.5-point favorites at home. 42 even is the game total. For as bad as Detroit's been, betting on Detroit has brought you winnings this year. They're 8-4 as underdogs. They've been underdogs in every game this year. 7-3 in their last 10, including a 4-game cover streak. This is against the Vikings, the Bears, and then on the road against the Browns and the Steelers. Broncos have been kind of back and forth. I don't think Detroit's going to win, but I definitely think Detroit's going to cover this near double-digit point spread. I do expect this game total, or I do expect the spread to come down. So I would take Detroit with as much points as you can get. Game total-wise, I think 42 is aggressively where it needs to be, and I would stay away from it. So take Detroit to cover the plus 9.5 right now with as much confidence as any game this week.
So Denver.
Yeah,
interesting.
It's
Melvin
Gordon's supposed to be back this
practice.
week too.
That's exactly where I was going with this. Melvin Gordon's back at practice. So do you anticipate it to go back to 50-50?
That's going to be the $1 million question. I don't think Melvin Gordon's fades out completely, but I will not be surprised if Javonte takes a little more snaps away. Gets a little more run.
A little bit more of a 60-40 split than the 50-50 we've seen all year.
Especially in this game where they should be able to win their favorite, like they should be able to win handily. This could be the game where you see a little less Melvin, and maybe Denver is trying to let Melvin rest for one more week. So there's going to be a week where we're going to see a lopsided split between the two. This is probably going to be the week.
Had that pale ale carved right, by the way.
Oh, I'm sure it did.
It's actually carved up now. Pretty good.
I liked it. It's going to be good. It was good. It was good. I liked it. It was a little extra juicy. I mean, it was balanced definitely with the malt, but it wasn't overly bitter.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was what you were going for.
It is.
If you did, then you did it right.
Exactly what I was going for. Okay. That was the Broncos. No, just kidding. Jerry Jeudy's been their best receiving option because somehow Teddy Bridgewater can't support more than one wide receiver. So Jerry Jeudy's the only guy there I want to start wide receiver-wise. I get that it's Detroit. Detroit's been able to push pace and push games. The problem is with Teddy in, Cortland Sutton, 6 targets last week, just 15 yards. The 4 games before that, below 5 targets.
It's been, I don't know how Denver hasn't tried
Drew Lock.
Like that game against the Chiefs, I think stood out the most.
Mm-hmm.
Why in God's fucking name? Like, I love Teddy. Love his story. Obviously, ex-Viking, so I would always have a soft spot for him. The dude is fucking done. He is journeyman at best, And if you can't at least see what you have in your second round pick from 2 years ago, who clearly has at least more of an aggressive upside, which this team needs.
Right.
With the weapons they
the
have.
defense isn't keeping it close anymore, so you need somebody that's not afraid to take risks on offense, and you might throw some picks, but what's not going to happen is you're not going to run the football and win with the defensive staff that you have right now. So you need to try to push the pace, push some of that downfield work, and the problem is that Teddy Bridgewater has found a way to neuter two of the guys you just paid. Tim Patrick hasn't been over 30 yards the last 3 weeks. So it's a solid game. The target volume has been a little more consistent for Patrick than it has been Sutton, but I don't trust Bridgewater to support anybody other than Judy. So it's the two running backs and Jerry Judy for me, and that's really it from the Broncos side. From the Lions side, things get a little bit more interesting because you finally saw some people against a bad defense take off, but you still have Patrick Surtain and Kyle Fuller. Outside of TJ Hawkinson, because the Denver pass rush is not what it once was, even though the secondary is still all right. Outside of TJ Hawkinson, I don't know that I want anything from the Lions. Now, the takeaway there, Swift doing better, start whatever back, right? If Jamal Williams plays, start him. Denver's not good against the run either. Secondary is solid, front seven is not.
Josh Reynolds, maybe?
Josh Reynolds has been more of
7 targets last week, 5 targets.
7
and
targets
it's true.
last
I
week.
think it's true.
Yeah, working deep.
Brought on form.
Working deep.
90%.
Yards
Yeah,
and a
it's been
touchdown.
85% snap share plus since he's joined Detroit.
Yeah, it's there. I worry a little bit about the cornerback play. That's
fair.
all. I don't trust Josh Reynolds and I trust St. Brown a little more playing out of the slot, but I don't really trust Josh Reynolds to beat. Look, you're probably gonna have Surtain on Reynolds, right?
Yeah, you're probably right.
Or
Yeah.
I don't know that I trust
you are
Reynolds to beat
absolutely
those
right.
corners.
You're not putting Surtain on Cleve Raymond, so that's fair. I was just pointing him out.
No, and it's a worthwhile point out because after Denver, you get Arizona, who's actually been solid but not great in the secondary. Atlanta, a little bit better positional matchups there.
Yeah.
To where it's worth pointing out, especially if the target volume persists, and especially if he shows he can do it against a solid secondary. You've also got good safeties there too. So, that's why I'm a little lower on Reynolds than I am, say a guy like St. Brown that plays out of the slot, but I still don't want to test any of the wide receivers.
Oh God, there's no way you're
low
gonna,
points.
Yeah.
It's a running back game for both teams.
Yeah, I wouldn't play. Again, this isn't a game we're targeting.
No.
So
there's very few games that you are targeting. Thankfully, we're about to get to a couple. 3 of the next 4 are pretty decent. Or
Giants. Oh,
no, sorry. 4 of the next 5 are pretty decent. I forgot about this one.
yeah. So we'll get to one, and then we'll get to the more exciting games. Giants at the Chargers. Chargers are 9.5-point favorites at home. 43.5 is the game total. No Daniel Jones. Mike Glennon may play, but it looks like it's the backup. It's potentially Jake Fromm going for the Giants this week. Chargers they just can't put teams away. Besides the Bengals, it's been kind of in their victories have not been pretty. But besides this past week against the Bengals and then way back in October against the Raiders, they haven't won by more than 6 points. And they're getting this 9.5-point spread. It's at home, so it's daring. But that's kind of been the way for the Chargers, even against some of these, worse teams. Denver, they lost. They barely beat, Pittsburgh. They lost against Minnesota. They barely beat Philadelphia. So the games have been closer. So I would stay away from the spread, maybe even lean the Giants. Giants has, from a game total standpoint, Giants have gone under in their last 7 games. Chargers have been kind of back and forth. It's hard to imagine the Giants being able to score enough points to feel confident in taking the over. 9 points, 13 points, 10 points have been their last 3 games. 23 against the Raiders, then 17 against the Chiefs the last 5 games. Avoid the spread. Take the under at 43.5.
Sure. Giants are a hard team to want to do anything with. I mean, the Chargers will definitely give up some yardage. They'll definitely give up some points, but it's been really, really hard to target anybody on the Giants. You've had a rotating cast of injuries. Nobody could really figure out how to get anything going on that team. Daniel Jones has regressed, if you ask me.
And if he's even been healthy, yeah, it's been.
Yeah, if he's even been healthy. You got Jake Fromm starting this game. So
gonna be amazing, guys. Amazing.
This is a don't do anything with the Giants weeks, and you should be able to not do anything with the Giants. Saquon Barkley's going to get some run in this one. They're going to key on him, although he's apparently back on the injury report with an ankle injury, so pay some attention to that. Darius Slayton was the leading target getter with Mike Glennon. Again, different quarterback. I don't want anything to do with the New York Giants. Don't touch them. The Chargers, on the other hand, 1, start that defense.
Yeah.
2, Mike Williams probably not going to play. They've got the COVID situation to pay attention to. Some people on Jared Cook with that one. Jared Cook has definitely been utilized as probably their third best receiving option. So he does stand to see a little bit of a bump if you're looking for a streaming tight end. The other guy I want to call out there, though, it's a guy that every time I watch the Chargers, which has weirdly been more than most teams this year, shows up, and that's Jalen Guyton.
Yep.
Jalen Guyton could play a lot of a similar Mike Williams type role, 6'1", 212. So he's got size, he's got speed. They'll work him deep, and they do target him deep. He's the guy that I'm looking at that could potentially take that step with Mike Williams out. And you're going to be interested in seeing that too, because I think Mike Williams is in last year of his rookie deal.
He is, and then it's a good dynasty call out. Mike Williams not vaccinated. Good chance he doesn't go this week. 4 targets is the highest since week 1 for Guyton. He caught all 4 for that touchdown, 90+ yards. Obviously, his best game this past week. You expect the snaps opportunity to go up. Problem is, again, just as you mentioned, how bad the Giants are. He's not a leading option, so you need Guyton to probably do most of his work early on in one or two plays, because I don't expect the volume to be there in what should be a lopsided victory. That's the only concern, is if the Chargers score early with guys like Eckler, Allen, and Cook, especially Allen and Eckler, Guyton may just be maybe neutered because of game script.
Yep. Nope, I'm completely with you on that. It's a call out if you need a boom play, potentially.
Yep.
That's essentially what that is. The other side of that, you're absolutely right. It could just be an Austin Eckler fest, and that is one guy that has huge upside this week, is Austin Eckler.
Who's the back?
Justin
Jackson. It might even be if like a Roundtree or Justin Jackson.
Justin Jackson per Upper Hand Fantasy every week posts snap percentages for running backs on Instagram.
Roundtree is the grinder. That is something to keep in mind. Jackson can play that role.
Roundtree didn't take any snaps last week. It was Josh Kelly.
Oh God, even just fine. Maybe Josh Kelly then. You might see the backup to Eckler get a little more play here.
It's not the time to get cute.
No, definitely not time to get cute. Definitely not. No,
if you're in that position,
you're probably
not playing for the playoffs.
Let's just call it.
Unless you're in that position because you've been writing Jonathan Taylor and Damian Harris all year and have no roster depth.
Leonard Fournette and
yeah. Well,
all right. 49ers at the Bengals. Niners are 1.5 point favorites. 48.5 is the game total. Spread wise, both teams have been pretty good lately. Niners are 3 out of the last 4 they've covered. Bengals are 2-2 over the past 4 games. It's going to probably hinge on if Debo is returned. I actually like Cincinnati in this game at home. The AFC North is definitely up for grabs. They have the in-division, advantages over both Baltimore and Pittsburgh. Not so much Cleveland, but Cleveland's going in the wrong direction. My favorite play in this game, though, is absolutely the over. Niners offense has found a click even without Debo this past week against Seattle. And while Joe Burrow is battling with the hand injury, more so the finger injury, there's no denying how good that offense is and what Seattle was able to do against them. And Bengals have a better offense. So I like the over. And if you have to lean game total or money line, I take Cincinnati to win.
Yeah, so we'll start with San Francisco. We know that's a team that wants to run the football. The problem is who, right? The problem right now is who.
Right. Yeah.
Because you've got Elijah Mitchell banged up, Jeff Wilson banged up, JaMychal Hasty banged up. Trenton Cannon was stretchered off last week. Trey Sermon's on IR. So who's going to be healthy is your first question there. Your second one is that if it's anybody other than Elijah Mitchell and Debo's back, yeah, you're absolutely playing Debo.
I mean, if Debo's back, you may actually see Debo
as a running
do what
back.
he's kind of done the last few weeks when he was healthy.
Yeah.
And that's be more of a runner.
Yeah, just play as a runner. And that's okay. Brandon Ayuk, 2 touchdowns that was George Kittle. George Kittle's been on an absolute tear. Brandon Ayuk has had opportunity again with Debo out. He's been just kind of okay. 6 targets each of the last 2 games, 55 yards in one, 91 in the other, 85 in the other. You're all right with that. Those are fine for wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 type numbers as far as Brandon Ayuk goes. The only thing that you're a little disappointed by is that with Debo out, you didn't see that increase a whole lot. It's kind of where it was the previous 3 weeks with Debo in.
Yeah.
But it gives you some confidence in being able to play Brandon Ayuk and what you're actually playing when you play Brandon Ayuk, especially in a matchup where the pace should be pushed. It's Ayuk, Debo if he's healthy, nobody else if he's not, George Kittle. And then we know they're going to want to run the football. You got to tune in Sunday to figure out who's going to be doing it, though, because we have no idea who's going to be healthy in that one. Bengals side of this. T. Higgins has been on an absolute tear the last couple weeks. There's absolutely no way you sit him. Jamar Chase has kind of been the guy that's been, we'll call it a bit less on a tear. He's did catch 1 touchdown, but just 32 yards that week, so you weren't happy with it. The last time you got a week that you were super happy with was the 8 for 201 and 1 performance. Other than that, you've had a couple passable weeks and a couple not so good weeks. What do you think of Chase this week?
I like him more because I like the game script. I like the fact that I think this game's going to be the highest scoring game of the week. At least top 2.
It should be.
I'll ride out the fact that Chase continues to get the big plays. It's just, can they connect? And I'll lean on that. I'll play him more so as a 2 or 3 than as my, de facto 1 if I can. But I do like the game matchup, and I like the fact that this game should be relatively close throughout, at least in hopes. Like even if there's a 10-point at most lead, I think this game's going to feel close throughout, and that's what you want, as both teams are going to lose and try to have to, forego their game plan here. So I do like Chase still.
No, I do too. And it's a situation where, multiple guys had produced against San Francisco. So it's Chase and Higgins are the 2 I want to. We like Tyler Boyd on this show. Tyler Boyd is, definitely behind those 2 in the pecking order, though, I think. So.
Oh, I mean, he has, right?
1A, 1B.
So, it was Higgins that had the touchdown regression. He came back to life. Now it's Chase. Yeah. Boyd is kind of just floats in between.
He's been very inconsistent though, so I don't know how you can.
I'm not saying you play. I'm just
don't.
kind of giving my thoughts on his role too. So
yeah, so you shy away from Boyd. Joe Mixon's an obvious go for it. I like Joe Burrow. That should go without saying. Jimmy Garoppolo is another stream this week, by the way. It's the other thing about San Francisco, especially without running backs against a Cincinnati defense that you see some promise out of, I think, especially with Sam Hubbard. But
yeah,
they Bates back in at safety. There's some nice pieces there. They're just not fully there yet on defense. So, Jimmy Garoppolo is a good stream this week.
Especially if Debo's back too. Like you're gonna feel a lot better.
We feel a lot better if Debo's back.
Exactly. All right. Game of the week, easily. Oh,
no, Monday night.
Yeah, Monday night. God, Monday night's gotten good these last weeks, but I think this one. Bills at the Buccaneers. Bucks 3-point favorites at home. And 53.5 is the game total. Highest game total for the week. Bucks are 3-0 against the spread the last 3 weeks. We don't like to just, say throw out games, but I think you kind of have to throw out Monday night's game for the Bills against the Patriots. It's just, I guess the Bills are on this every other win-loss though, and right now they're on the side of winning, I guess, in this matchup. If you want to go for for superstition standpoint here, I do like the Bucks at home to play though. Brady plays his best against these top tier teams, and this is one of those games where I just expect him to play out of his mind. And when we get to the when we get the fantasy side of the ball, it's going to just be crazy points. I'll take the over in this as well. Tampa Bay to cover 3 points and the over at 53.5.
Yeah, this is a game you absolutely target, but the only bad part about targeting this game is that the only part you have some flex is in the Bills' backfield, right? Because everybody else, you're not necessarily considering sitting, right? You sit in Gronk? No. You sit in Godwin? No. You sit in Evans? Not a chance. You sit in Fournette with the heater he's been on? Nope. Sit in Tom Brady? No, not at all. And there ain't any chance they're on waivers either. And for the Bills, you're not sitting Allen, you're not sitting Diggs, right? Dawson Knox is kind of an enigma. I love Dawson Knox, but
I do.
Couple drops and a really
this is a great game for him, though. It was a tough game Monday.
It is a great game for him, though. 2 touchdowns. He's a guy that gets a lot of red zone work. You're a little red zone dependent. Bucks defense hasn't been as good over the last couple weeks as it was at the beginning of the season, though. So I do like Dawson Knox. Let's double back on those running backs for the Bills real quick. Matt Breida's been the most efficient. He fumbled, though. They played from behind in a game where points were at a premium. Most of last week, you saw a lot more Moss and Singletary, and that's kind of the problem, right? This backfield is bipolar. Some weeks they like Zach Moss, some weeks they don't like Zach Moss. Matt Breida's the most efficient one. Sometimes he just disappears. How do you do anything with it? I would say don't, because this game script goes tilted. It's going to tilt towards Tampa Bay.
And God forbid you trust your running back too on a Bills running back. Like we're pretty much in playoff fantasy
football.
Take the
ninth string guy in San Francisco before you take the Bills running back.
Yikes.
Ben Jarvis Green Ellis is still available on Sleeper.
Law firm.
Is
that it for this game?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot to dive into, right? It's sure. Diggs, and I just went through what Tampa Bay is giving up, and I really don't want to go secondary option with Buffalo because, again, it's bipolar. Some weeks it's been Emmanuel Sanders. Some weeks it's been Cole Beasley. Some weeks it's been Gabe Davis.
Just play them all.
It's a high points game, right? So if you're debating a Bills wide receiver or somebody with some of the other trash this week, lean that way because it's a high stakes game, but there's nobody I look at there and say, yeah, no, it's obviously that guy. Let me recommend them. It's because of how bipolar it's been.
I get you. All right. 2 games left. Then we're done. Bears at the Packers. Packers,
my head
12.5 point favorites. 43.5 is the game total. Again, Green Bay dominated against the spread this entire year. 10-2 on the season, 9-1 in their last 10 games. Even with Justin Fields back, this is just a Green Bay, right? Rodgers has this vendetta against the Bears. He has a vendetta against the Vikings. When he plays them, he doesn't want to beat them. He wants to humiliate them in his own mind. And the Bears, well, you like some spot. It's just not their year this year. Green Bay potentially getting back Jair back here just makes this game feel even more so. Go against the against double-digit point spreads and just bet Green Bay. Over under wise, it's been kind of gross. Packers games go mostly under as they're more of a slower paced team. But 43.5 is the lowest game total they've played in these last 10 games. I'm still taking the under, though. So I'll take Green Bay's defense. Chicago having a hard time to find time to score, to find drives to score with on. So Green Bay, 12.5. And I like the under at 43.5.
This game hurts my heart.
I know. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Justin Fields coming back in. He's basically been Zach Wilson with better legs. I looked into that earlier today. Not wrong.
It's not been. I think turnovers is not as ugly, but he's pretty much not.
No, the turnovers are actually a little more ugly, at least from a touchdown to interception ratio perspective.
Yeah, it's.
He's got one more. I'm gonna double check this. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
So you look up Wilson. I'll look up Fields.
I'm looking up Fields right now. Sorry.
I'm pulling out Fields.
Yeah, he's 4-8 on touchdown to interception ratio. Wilson, I think, was 6-11 or something like that.
It's not been good. Both quarterbacks have
all right,
struggled with.
Let's do this. Let's go back and forth real quick, shall we? Let's go back and forth on some of these metrics. Let's do a quick comparison because it's fun.
Let me pull up. I'll pull up Wilson.
I got Wilson. Stay on Fields.
Okay.
I changed it.
Okay.
All right. Completion percentage.
Are
you on Player Profiler or where are you at?
Yeah, I'm on Player Profiler.
I'm not on Player Profiler. I'm on Pro Football.
I'm always on Player Profiler.
Okay.
Better advanced metrics to look at.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do.
I'll
both.
just say Fields is not. It's not pretty.
Let's do both. Why not? We'll do Player Profiler first. Go ahead and pull up.
Yep, he's on there.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I'm saying go ahead and pull up Pro Football Reference too for counting stats.
Oh, okay.
Let's start here.
Sure.
All right. Get you. Zach Wilson. Let's start with some of these efficiency metrics because that's what I really care about right now. Yeah, because counting metrics are going to be lopsided because I haven't played in the same number of games. So let's go with efficiency metrics. Yards per attempt.
Fields is 10.9.
Okay. Wilson,
number one in the league right now.
Wilson's at 33. Kind of helps when you have Darnell Mooney. Tell me who the deep threat is on the Jets. Denzel Mims.
Elijah Moore. Because he's 6th in the league in deep targets right now.
Could be. But he's recent, though, right? Most of that was with... I
mean, he's 6th in the league in deep threats, and he's missed like 2 or 3 games. He's their deep threat.
I know.
But he's also amazing. So,
but he's also, since he really broke out with Mike White, has played 2 games with Wilson.
I mean, sure, but he's still the
air yards per attempt.
Air yards per attempt. Oh, I'm sorry. He's at 10.9 air yards per attempt.
Okay.
Number one.
Wilson's
yards per attempt, I think I looked at differently.
Yeah.
They don't even have
8.2 for Wilson. You don't have yards per attempt under efficiency? It should be the furthest
6.9. 6.9.
Okay, 6.3. So ballpark. 33,
ballpark, same.
33 and 13. Adjusted yards per attempt is 4.3.
4.7. Fields.
Ballpark. Accuracy rating?
6.7.
7.9 for Wilson. He's 6th in the league. That surprises you, doesn't it?
I mean, when he gets, again, that's been a part of it, right? When he gets time to throw, when he gets that clean pocket, when he's not pressured.
True completion percentage?
61.5, 36.
68.8, 27. Play action.
52.6.
41.2.
35th.
Better in the pocket for Wilson. Kind of expected, right? We'll skip red ball. Deep ball completion.
39, 12th.
46.9, 4th.
Perfect. Not surprising, too.
Pressured completion.
You said pressure?
Pressured, yeah.
33 and 33, 1/3. 34th.
26.7, 37th. Both bad. Not unheard of for rookie quarterbacks to be bad under pressure. That's the biggest curve we see when they come into the league. Clean pocket completion.
66-7, 30th.
65-2, 34th. Ballpark. Catchable pass rate.
71-2, 30th.
73-3, 23rd.
Yeah, so ballpark.
So, again, all I'm saying is... Actually, I want to look at one other thing. One other thing here real quick. Receiver target separation. Second row of efficiency metrics. Holy shit.
Oh, 1.35, 68th.
1.74, 28th. Drop passes.
9th, 32nd.
27, 5th. How many per game?
Less than 1.
338 for Wilson.
Yeah.
I mean, here's what you got, right? Yeah, two quarterbacks that are similar. One's more athletic, Fields. One's been a bit better of a passer, Wilson. Tell me if you're surprised by that one. I'm not. One's got receivers that can separate but not catch. The other one's got receivers that can catch, not separate.
It's I think if Wilson didn't have the egregiously bad turnover games, he would get a little more of a pass. The fact that I feel like Wilson was more polarizing towards the end too.
How many danger
Fields
plays
what's that?
How many? Let's do this real quick, counting wise, because they're counting stats, right?
Sure.
How many danger plays does Fields have?
22, 16.
How many games has he started?
He's started. Let me go to Pro Football Reference. He's started 8 games. I think him and Wilson should have started nearly the same.
They've started the exact same amount of games, actually. Okay.
8.
And what'd you say his number was? 16?
Was 22 danger plays, 16.
Okay. 20 danger plays for
I expect that out of both.
Zach
Both
Wilson.
quarterbacks are
I would
fairly
too.
aggressive.
Interceptable passes,
18 for Fields.
15 for Wilson.
Yeah.
So
So again,
I mean, really, it seems like Wilson's been bid a little bit more by similar efficiency numbers, essentially.
I mean,
Underlying
effectively,
metrics on Zach Wilson
it's
are actually a little bit better than I thought they would be, especially in the accuracy and danger departments and everything.
I mean, they're still not particularly great, but like I said, I think Wilson gets a bit more on the fact that he's got more turnovers to his name. I think that's really the case. Is the Jets are more marketable team. They're just, New York.
Yeah.
They're going to get more, leeway for that. Obviously, pick discrepancy in terms of where they were picked. It leans Wilson. It's going to just get more under the limelight.
Yeah.
And the fact the Jets have just been bad for so long, he's going to get scrutinized more. I mean, who's more likely to get Josh Rosen? Unfortunately, Zach Wilson.
Probably Wilson, yeah. And that's because the Bears don't cut a bad thing. And, the rates are tilted a little bit towards Fields. The counting, the ratio is a little bit towards Wilson. You've got a little more pass attempts towards Wilson than Fields. And that's, again, types of quarterbacks they are. That's to be a little expected. So they're very similar was the point I was making. And I say all that to get back to the point of, maybe you don't necessarily want to start Justin Fields against the Packers, even though he's playing.
Oh, God, no. I mean,
Despite the
that's a
run upside.
long-winded response. I would not play Fields.
That was actually a reason to compare something, though, that you and I had chatted about in the group chat earlier.
You and I have always been.
And
You and
I
I have
wanted
always
to
been.
see-
It's always been Fields versus Wilson. For us.
I wanted to see how close it was, and that was based on
That's
our
fair.
buddy Ian making the statement of, who is big on Fields, making the statement of, I didn't get all the glamour with Wilson, and he's been so bad since he's gotten into the league. And I'm like, well, dude, Fields hasn't been much better.
If Fields wasn't on any other team than Chicago,
Yeah,
entirely
Chicago's
different.
bad, and the team gets shit on for being bad, and it was different expectations. People expected Chicago to be bad again. They didn't make all the changes the Jets did. And that's where the difference is, and the quarterback catches a lot of blame for that. And New York is a bigger media market, but it's all about the perception that it's being put out there as. Because when the statement was made of, well, I didn't get the glitz and glamour with Wilson, he's been bad. Well, okay, but you get the glitz and glamour with Fields, and
I think people just also forget Fields doesn't have a lot of great games. He had a good half. He had a good second half against Pittsburgh, and he had an okay game against, San Francisco. It's been people remember Wilson's bad games more than Fields. Wilson has put forth just overall really bad games, and it's more so because of the turnovers.
Yeah,
that's really it. It's he's got. It's both players have been bad, but Fields is also more liked overall too.
Yeah, and the New England game, which gets everyone, is that it is the 4 interception.
And he got him twice.
That's not the 4 interception game for her.
Yeah, it's
Which is the other thing is what Belichick does to rookies. Anyway, long-winded way to get to don't play Justin Fields.
Long way to get to an obvious answer. Don't play Justin Fields this week.
David Montgomery's fine. Darnell Mooney's
more than he's not going to get Jair. Even if
Robinson doesn't go,
Robinson doesn't play. I don't think Jair plays him. He's not. He's
who's Jair going to play if Robinson doesn't go?
He'll probably play who's ever randomly on that side of the field.
Damiere Byrd,
maybe Byrd, Grant. Because
Goodwin, hey, you think the Bears have a type with all those guys we just named?
I mean, unless Green Bay decides to shadow Mooney,
they're not going to shadow.
They're not going to shadow Mooney.
That would be the only flip
side. They just don't shadow at all this year. So
that would be the only flip side of it, right? Is you shadow Mooney, you really got no one. Maybe you take away the only weapon, but I don't think
maybe the tight ends will actually get work then.
No, it's Mooney and nobody else. And it's Mooney, Montgomery, and nobody else. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Packers side is
pretty
standard. Yeah, not really a whole lot to get into there. They're not gonna have to throw enough for secondary pieces to be relevant.
Yeah, I'm not playing Rodgers. Not in there. They're one of the slower pace offenses in football.
I'm playing Rodgers, but I may be playing.
You may have to if Stafford. I mean, I think Stafford's supposed to play.
Stafford's supposed to play, but it's also a matter of the fact that Stafford's had 2 bad games around a good game against a bad defense. Let's see how he does against the Cardinals. Plus, I don't really have anything to play for this week.
That's true. You already locked up the number 1
seed. I've locked up the
league.
division. I've locked up the number 1 seed. I have locked up. You pay out regular season in that one, right?
Yeah, you and Sean will get.
Okay, you pay out division winners. So
yep, division winners. Yep.
Yeah, so I have legitimately nothing to play for in that league this week.
You're playing for. I mean, you already got your money. You already got your dues next year. You and Sean got your dues next year. I'll just say that.
Yeah, I don't have anything to play for this week, so it's very, very much. Look, I could rest my starters if I wanted to. I don't want to. I'm playing Jordan. That's still very, very much a difference. In the in that fight for
Nick
the
might
last
miss the
playoff
playoffs
spot.
in that league.
So,
I can't believe that. Nick's got a good chance of missing the playoffs.
Jordan's catching me at a good time too because I don't have Gaskin or Harris or
Jordan's also got a better record than Nick. Nick's only way into the playoffs in that league is if I beat whoever I'm playing or Drew beats whoever he's playing. I think I'm playing Carter and I think Drew's playing Sean or Ian. I think I'm playing Carter.
We don't have
Drew.
Keith Carver.
And then Carver is playing.
As I say, you keep saying Carter, and I'm like, no, Carter's in the listener league.
Yeah, other league.
Yeah.
Anyways, final game. Rams at the Cardinals.
This is my pick for game of the week over Bills Bucks.
Probably is, but I still love Bills Bucks. Cardinals are 2.5-point favorites at home. 51.5 is the game total. The only other game, one of 2 games over 50 game total. Cardinals have been dominant against the spread this year. They're 9-3 overall, 8-2 in their last 10 games. Still home favorites. They are 2-3 this year with a push in there. But Murray's back. Rams, look good against a team they were supposed to look good against. We'll see how back they are. Because outside of that Jacksonville game, they haven't covered a game since October. I'll take the Cardinals to win at home, though I will not be surprised if the Rams do pull out a victory here. And I'll take the over. Outside of the Niners Bengals game, I think this game is the one that scores the most points in. So it's just going to be a close shootout style of game. Henderson should be back for the Rams. Cardinals are going to be healthier than they've been in the last month or so. So I like the over more so than just the spread, but I'll lean the Cardinals.
You know who's found their legs since Robert Woods got hurt?
Van
Jefferson.
Even Odell's been all right.
Yeah, Odell's caught a couple touchdowns and is working his way into the offense. Van Jefferson has had 7 or more targets each of the last 4 weeks. Odell Beckham 10-5, so you're still a little touchdown dependent there, a little inconsistent. We'll see how they decide to attack Arizona. I like Van Jefferson if you're looking for an upside play this week. Again, in leagues where he's not necessarily rostered. Cooper Kupp's been on an absolute tear. The running game here, pay attention to if Darrell Henderson is good to go or not. But Sony Michel, solid week last week, really. He's a rhythm runner.
Very good week last week. Very good.
Rhythm runner, as McVay called him. Doesn't really work well as a change of pace back. Maybe that's kind of what went wrong in New England. So Sony Michel very, very much could end up having another big week this week. Again, you probably snapped him off waivers. If you did, start him. I don't expect it to be as lopsided, but we know Michel can work in the receiving game as well. So, the other side of this with the Cardinals, by the way, I'm okay with starting Matt Stafford. It should be a high-scoring game. You want to start players in high-scoring games. The other side of this with the Cardinals, Hopkins should be more involved this week than he was last week.
As he gets healthier, right? I think no one's shocked in what should have been a lopsided win for the Rams or for the Cardinals that
he had 2 receptions and 2 targets.
Yeah, that he should see a little more work now.
Yeah, he absolutely should see a bit more work versus what he did last week.
But he will get Ramsey, so have fun there, bud.
That's why I like Christian Kirk.
Yeah.
Christian Kirk has been the solid number 2 there for Arizona. Very, very much like him. The other thing you have to like, the Rams, for whatever reason, cannot play the run for shit. James Conner, resurgence. That's it.
That's it. That's it. That's the final week of most regular seasons. That's potentially week 1 of the playoffs for some leagues.
Yep. We still got
good luck to you guys.
3 weeks of this left as we work you through playoff matchups, playoff games. The thing with those is that's a lot more start-sit centered. So if you're in the playoffs, your roster is pretty well set. Not going to be a lot of deep cuts there. So may take a more targeted approach the next couple weeks. We'll see how that goes, but we'll be with you for your playoffs. Good luck. Tune in Sunday morning.
Exactly. We'll see you guys Sunday.